Well, and to that end, there are some naysayers in the chat, and I'm wondering if y'all can help with that too. And basically, the argument goes like this: that the interests that got us here in caging so many humans were in part driven by the rush to privatize not just the prisons, but all of the services they're in. Are those interests too big? Are they too insurmountable? What can we expect this legislative session in terms of pushback, and can we defeat them? And I suppose we as the global we, because this chat is absolutely lighting up right now with so many, especially family members and directly impacted people.
Look, if we don't try, that's a guaranteed loss. Mm-hmm. The system that we have right now is normalized dysfunction, abused, waste, and the only way to turn that around is to stand up, let your voice be heard, and go to the people who make these decisions and confront them with the reality of what's going on. Again, the Parsons evidence, the evidence that was introduced in that trial, is going to play a huge role in the future of reform in Arizona when it comes to our prisons, because it was talking about medical care, but it actually dealt with how things work in there. I mean, think about that, how they were relating to these inmates, how they were perceiving these incarcerated persons. And it showed a lack of humanity. And is that the kind of state we want to be? And those are the kind of stories that we need to start now focusing on, which is, let's look at what our state values, right? Our state likes to say that we value the opportunity to have a productive and hopeful future. But when it comes to folks who are incarcerated, that just simply isn't the case, and we know that. So can we fix this problem? Yes. Is it a huge problem? Yes. Are there folks who are making money off of the system and who benefit from the status quo? Yes. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop. And certainly, if anything, it just makes it that much more important for each one of us to stand up united together with a single voice to talk about these issues. Let's talk about normalizing a system that values people, a system that doesn't allow abuse to take place, a system that values efficiency and accountability and transparency. Those are the things we can do. I mean, certainly our state's history isn't a bright one when it comes to being on the forefront of sentencing reform or prison reform. But with people like Mr. Blackman in elected office and other people that I know, my former colleagues on both sides of the aisle, it can be done. But it is going to take each and every one of us to take up a part of that struggle and do what we can. This is an all hands on deck effort, folks. We're fighting exactly what Mr. Blackman talked about earlier. We're fighting a culture. We're fighting a prison industrial complex. We're fighting folks who seem to think that throwing more people in prison makes us all safer, which we just know that isn't true. And so the challenge is there, but we can do it. And I'm confident we can do it, but we do have to do it together.
Look, when we put together the Criminal Justice Reform Committee, Representative Rodriguez and I came together, and the first rule we made was this was not going to be a political football, and that we were going to bring to the table those issues with solutions. And I will tell you, and I'm sure that Representative Rodriguez can caveat on this, is that 90% of the bills that came out of that committee came out unanimously. 80% of the bills that came out of there that hit the floor left the floor with either a 60-0 vote or a 95% vote. So it can be done. There are just a few people that are naysayers that don't want this to go forward. So what I plan on doing, we talked a little bit about, how folks, how they can get involved. Sometimes it's really hard for people to go to the Capitol because of their working lives. So I have put on my agenda for this year to make sure that I go around and conduct town halls about this very subject, to bring the information back from the field or from communities of interest or communities that are having these issues, and bring them back to the legislature and try to fix something, because that's our job to do. I know that Representative Rodriguez and I talked a little bit about this last year. Time just got away in COVID. But we have to get out there and talk to folks too and ask them, what's on your mind? What do you think we can do? And take those solutions to the table. And then when it gets to the table, when these votes get passed and the bills get to the floor, folks have got, and I'm talking about legislators, they have to choose the hard right over the easy wrong. And having an oversight committee is not opening the floodgates to let everybody out of prison. Right. It is the opposite. It is making sure that we are safe as a community because we are doing the right thing by checking ourselves and checking this big department on what they're doing. So